Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our hilariously heated debate of the century. Today's topic: should kids be banned from bringing phones to school? Get ready for a clash of titans, or at least a clash of ringtones versus reason. I'm your moderator, and I'm here to make sure things don't go too out of network. In the blue corner, representing the Ban the Phones team, we have Oliver, aka Mr. Phones Down, heads up. A firm believer that the only thing kids should be tapping in class is knowledge. And in the red corner, championing the keep the phone side, we have Tina, aka Miss. There's an app for that. She argues that smartphones are basically the new school supplies. Let's give them both a big round of applause. And please make sure your phones are on silent, folks. We don't want Siri jumping in as an uninvited debater. All right, Oliver, since you're eager to unplug the youth, we'll let you kick things off. Why do you think phones should be banned in school?
Thank you, moderator. First off, kids plus phones plus classroom equals complete distraction disaster. Phones are like tiny handheld supervillains sabotaging every lesson. As Yoda might warn, phones lead to distraction, distraction leads to bad grades lead to suffering. The dark side of smartphones it is. I mean, how's a math teacher supposed to compete with TikTok? Unless Mr. Johnson starts doing Fortnite dances while teaching algebra, he's losing that battle. Phones down, heads up, that's my mantra. Without phones, students might actually look at the board instead of sneaking looks at how many likes their cat meme got.
Some solid points and even a Fortnite reference, bold move. Tina, he says teachers can't compete with TikTok. How do you respond?
Oh, I have plenty to say. Look, distraction isn't a phone-exclusive thing. If a lesson is boring, students will daydream about pizza or draw ninja unicorns in their notebooks. You can't ban daydreaming, unless there's an app for that, and trust me, there's an app for that. Actually, phones can help learning if used right. Got a kid fidgeting? Turn that phone into a science quiz game or let them Google what a quark is when curiosity strikes in physics. There are even apps that reward you for not using your phone in class. Imagine that, using a phone to stop using a phone. Talk about the ultimate UNO reverse card. So maybe our pocket supervillains can do some hero work too.
An app to stop using your phone? That's like hiring Cookie Monster to guard the cookie jar. Ironically brilliant. So we're already at apps fighting apps. It's appception. Moving on. Oliver, Tina thinks phones can be angels and not just demons. But what about test time? Cheating has to be a concern, right?
Absolutely. Phones turn every test into an episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Everyone is secretly using phone-a-friend lifelines. Students can literally Google, what is the powerhouse of the cell under their desks? That's not a pop quiz, that's a Google search competition. One kid even tried to convince me Siri was his lab partner when I caught him whispering answers. If we ban phones, we bring honesty back. No more stealthy screenshots of the math test or group chats with the answers. Keep exams about what you know, not how fast you can type without looking.
Nice try, but cheating didn't arrive with smartphones like some evil software update. Back in ancient times, the 90s, students passed handwritten notes, wrote answers on their arms, or hid cheat sheets in their socks. Cheaters gonna cheat with or without phones. Instead of a ban, how about teachers up their game? Design tests that make students actually think instead of regurgitating Wikipedia. Or better yet, use phones during tests for open note exams. Make the questions so deep that even Google scratches its head. Plus, isn't figuring out how to secretly text in your pocket a skill of its own? I call it texting yoga. These kids are basically contortionists. Just kidding. Kinda. Honestly, we should teach integrity and smart tech use, not just play whack-a-mole confiscating phones like we're secret agents on a mission.
Texting yoga, coming to a PE class near you. I can see it now. Downward-facing phone pose. All right, let's move on from test shenanigans. How about social skills? Critics say if kids are glued to screens, they're not talking to each other. Oliver, do you see phones as a threat to face-to-face friendship?
100%. Picture a school cafeteria that sounds like a library because every teen is staring at a screen, furiously typing LOL instead of actually laughing out loud. It's the Walking Dead teen edition. Heads down, zombies texting. I've literally seen a table of best friends sitting together, texting each other. Absurd, it's like a LAN party with lunch trays. Banning phones would force these kids to experience something truly radical. talking to each other, maybe even making eye contact. Gasp! They might rediscover their friend has a face and not just a Bitmoji avatar. Phones down, heads up. See your friends with your actual eyes, not through a screen.
Okay, Grandpa. First of all, fine, I gotta say it. Okay, Boomer. Not all phone use is antisocial. In that silent cafeteria, you know what might be happening? Two kids could be cracking up together at a TikTok one of them found. They're bonding over that meme, sharing earbuds, trying not to spit out their milk. Or a group chat might be coordinating an after-school hangout because yelling across the cafeteria is so last century. My point. Phones don't turn kids into zombies. They just give kids a new way to communicate. We used to pass paper notes under the table. Now they airdrop memes. It's social interaction, just 2.0. You say phones down, heads up. I say heads can be up together, huddled over the same screen, enjoying content as a group. That's the new sitting around the campfire telling stories, except the fire is an iPhone and the stories are hilarious YouTube clips of skateboarding cats.
Ah, the digital campfire of viral cat videos. How heartwarming. I hope the s'mores are gluten-free. All right, let's dial it up a notch. Some argue phones at school lead to trouble beyond distraction, like cyberbullying or crazy viral pranks. Oliver, any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Give a kid a smartphone and suddenly every embarrassing moment becomes a potential YouTube sensation. It's like having a class full of TMZ paparazzi, one slip on a banana peel, and by lunchtime the whole school's seen it set to goofy music. And don't get me started on those TikTok challenges. Last month kids were stealing the school's bathroom sinks because TikTok told them to. The Devious Licks Challenge. Yeah, that happened. Our custodian nearly had a heart attack. Banning phones would cut off the source of these dumb ideas during school hours, and it would stop a lot of cyberbullying before it starts. No phone, no one secretly filming Shy Sam's shaky class presentation to turn him into a meme. School should be a safe zone, not a film studio for the next humiliating viral clip.
Those are some wild examples. I remember the missing sinks. What a time to be alive. But you won't stop bullying by banning phones. Mean kids were mean before smartphones existed. Pretty sure medieval bullies just carved insults on stone tablets. Instead, phones can sometimes help catch bullies. A student being harassed could discreetly record evidence and show the principal receipts, as we like to say. And those prank videos? Okay, stealing sinks was dumb, but sometimes a goofy trend just gives everyone a laugh. Harmless ones anyway. Rather than blanket ban phones, how about we teach kids what not to do with them? Educate them about kindness and common sense online. It's like teaching them to drive safely instead of banning cars because some people speed. There's an app for that too, by the way. Tons of apps and programs teach online etiquette and digital citizenship. Let's use tech to solve tech problems, not run from them.
A world where phones fight bullying tech avengers to the rescue. I like the optimism. Next up, let's examine academics and technology. Tina, you hinted that phones can actually enhance learning. Care to elaborate? How on earth can a phone make class better?
Glad you asked. Smartphones are basically supercomputers in our pockets. It's like giving every kid a magic encyclopedia, or a cheat code, depending who you ask. For example, if a teacher mentions black holes and sparks a student's curiosity, that kid can hop on NASA's website right then and there for a mind-blowing deep dive. Or consider educational apps. Vocabulary builders, language learning, you name it. Ever heard of Kahoot? With phones, classes can play fun quiz games that turn learning into a competition. Trust me, a room full of teens will suddenly care about the capital of France if it means they get to win a Kahoot and brag about it. And you should see their faces when a teacher says, "Pull out your phones for this activity." Total surprised Pikachu face, but in a good way. Kids love when learning meets technology. QR code scavenger hunts, interactive math apps, even virtual lab simulations in biology class. Phones can bring learning to life. Instead of banning this awesome tool, why not embrace it? When a teacher uses the phrase, "take out your phones for something educational," students' jaws drop in disbelief. It's like telling them class got canceled. Instant engagement.
Sure, that all sounds super rosy, but let's be real. For every student who looks up NASA, 5 others are watching NASA fail compilations or sneaking in a round of Minecraft. You really think Johnny is researching black holes? He's probably trying to beat level 100 of Candy Crush. And Kahoot is great until one kid enters a wildly inappropriate nickname and derails the class in a fit of giggles. I had a student join a history quiz as Big Chungus once. Trust me, nobody remembered who won, only the legend of Big Chungus. Phones in theory can aid learning, but in practice they often derail it. Many teachers have enough trouble getting kids to pay attention to chalk, let alone compete with TikTok. Expecting a teacher to manage 30 Snapchat-saturated teens and keep them on task is like asking a cat to guard a fish market. It's chaos.
Shout out to Big Chungus for sabotaging history class. May his meme legacy live on. All right, moving right along. Let's touch on something different. Health and well-being. Some say constant phone use affects kids' health. Eye strain, bad posture, TikTok addiction. TikTok toxicosis, anyone? Oliver, would banning phones at school help kids' health or sanity?
It certainly can. Ever seen a teenager without a phone? They suddenly look up and go, whoa, when did the school repaint the walls? It's like they're rediscovering reality. A phone ban is like a mini digital detox from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Let them stretch their necks instead of hunching over screens like Quasimodo checking Snapchat. And mental health-wise, a break from the Instagram highlight reel could do wonders. No more seeing your friends' perfect vacation pics during math and feeling like you're the only one not living your best life. School is stressful enough, phones often make it worse. Drama, group chats, the pressure to reply to that one text right now. Ban them and maybe kids will actually breathe a little. Heck, they might even play actual sports at recess instead of Candy Crush. Think of it as a spa day for their brains. Phones down, heads up, and maybe a little sunlight in those eyeballs.
All good points. But you realize once that final bell rings, those kids will sprint to their lockers like their pants are on fire and binge everything they missed. Total phone frenzy. It's like holding your breath underwater. When you finally surface, you gasp even harder. For many, banning might just delay usage, not reduce it. I'd rather teach moderation than enforce cold turkey. Show them how to take healthy breaks and use features that help. Many phones tell you how long you've been on TikTok and can nudge you to take a break. There's an app for that, built right into most phones now. And about physical activity. Some kids use their phones to enhance it. Playing music while running laps or using a fitness app to track steps in PE. Banning the phone equals banning those positives too. I'm not saying glue the phone to their hand 24/7, just don't impose a total shutdown. It's like cutting sugar out entirely. It might sound healthy, but it'll just make them sneak candy behind your back. Better to teach a balanced diet, a bit of screen time, a bit of playtime. Trust me, they can coexist.
A digital diet instead of a digital ban, everything in moderation, including moderation. Got it. What about fairness? Some worry not every student has a fancy phone. Banning phones could level the playing field. No envy or showing off. Is that a factor, Oliver?
Actually, yes. If no one can have a phone, then nobody's the have-not with a crummy flip phone or the only one whose parents didn't buy them the latest iPhone 37 or whatever number we're up to. School should be about learning, not a tech fashion show. Without phones, there's one less thing for kids to compare, brag, or bully over. No, mine has 5 cameras. Yours has 1 showdowns by the lockers. I mean, you'll never hear, dude, check out the megapixels on my mom's hand-me-down Nokia. Laughs. Removing phones reduces the pressure to keep up with the tech Joneses. Everyone's equal when everyone's phoneless. It's like a uniform policy for devices. Much easier to enforce than trying to get teens to all wear the same ugly sweater.
Nice try at utopia, but teens will find something to flex about regardless. If it's not phones, it'll be sneakers, or who has the cool limited edition Marvel backpack. I once saw a kid brag about having scented highlighters, limited edition scented highlighters. Banning phones to stop competition is like banning desserts to stop food fights. They'll just start flinging mashed potatoes instead. Plus, phones are so common now that not having one is the exception. If a student truly doesn't have a phone, many schools have computers or tablets for them so they're not left out educationally. Honestly, banning phones might make more drama. The kids who follow the rules will resent those sneaky rule breakers with hidden phones. Suddenly, it's, why do they get to secretly Snapchat and I don't? Now you've got phone classism. Instead of banning every device because a few kids might brag, let's address the culture of bragging itself. Encourage humility and kindness. Newsflash. If a kid is a jerk, they'll be a jerk with or without a smartphone.
Some say we survived school without smartphones, so today's kids can too. Oliver, you kind of implied that. Care to expand?
Right, we did just fine in school before everyone had a supercomputer in their pocket. We paid attention, mostly, passed notes on paper if we had to, and miraculously made it to 3 p.m. without texting our parents 37 times. It's good for kids to experience a little old-school simplicity. Call me nostalgic. But there's something pure about learning with minimal digital distraction, like actually memorizing a few phone numbers, gasp, or reading a physical book without hopping to Google every 2 minutes. A phone ban is basically turning back the clock to a simpler time when the only drama was who you sat with at lunch, not who left you on read. If it worked for generations of students before, it can work now. Socrates taught Plato without a single iPad, and those guys seem to do all right.
True, Socrates didn't have Snapchat. But if he did, maybe he'd have gone viral. Times change, my friend. Just because you walked uphill both ways without a phone doesn't mean we should make kids do the same. We also survived with horse-drawn carriages once, but you don't see us banning cars to return to the good old days. The world is digital now. We should prepare students for the reality they live in, not a nostalgic, sepia-toned 1980s rerun. That means teaching them when and how to use their phones responsibly, not pretending phones don't exist. Also, quick reality check, many parents expect their kids to be reachable. Back in your day, Oliver, Mom and Dad just hoped you made it home somehow. Now, if little Jimmy doesn't reply to his mom's text in 5 minutes, she's about to alert the FBI. It's a different era. Adaptation is key. Like we learned to live with rock music, computers, and whatever Facebook's calling itself this week, we can learn to live with phones in school. And by the way, I'd pay to see Socrates doing a TikTok dance challenge about philosophy. Check out my new dance, the Socratic Shuffle.
Socrates on TikTok. That's a mental image I didn't know I needed. Hashtag Know Thyself Challenge. All right, speaking of parental freakouts. Tina, what about emergencies or just staying in touch? I bet you have thoughts on why a student having a phone could be important for safety.
Oh, absolutely. This is probably my strongest point. Phones are lifelines. If there's an emergency, big or small, having a phone can be a literal lifesaver. Picture this. A sudden school evacuation, and a kid can shoot a quick "I'm safe" text to their parents instead of everyone panicking. Or less dramatic. The school bus is running late after a game. Kids can inform their folks so nobody thinks they've been abducted by aliens. One time, my friend had an asthma attack at school. She called her mom when she couldn't find a teacher immediately. Help came faster because of that phone call. And hey, if we really want to go wild with scenarios, what if there's a zombie apocalypse during third period? You'd want the kids to at least be able to call for backup or tweet brains, right? Kidding. Well, half kidding. Point is, parents and students feel safer with a phone at hand. It's like a security blanket that actually dials out. Banning phones is like banning seatbelts because most days you don't need them. It's all good until it's not. I mean, there's an app for emergency alerts, and without phones, those apps are useless. Why make school a communications dead zone?
I agree. True emergencies are important. I'm not a monster, folks. I don't actually want kids in danger, but schools operated with this thing called a landline for decades. If there's a real emergency, the school office phones will be ringing non-stop to reach parents, and vice versa. We have procedures, we have paper contact lists, and in a crisis, sometimes personal phones create chaos. Imagine 200 kids all calling home at once. It's a network nightmare and nobody can get through. Not to mention, 30 teenagers live streaming a fire drill doesn't exactly help the firefighters. And if aliens land or zombies roam the halls, the last thing we need is kids live TikToking it. OMG zombie chase LOL. So sure, let students have phones for the ride to and from school, for after-school pickup coordination. I'm not totally heartless, but keep them out of the classroom itself. Maybe they stay in lockers during the day. That way the seatbelt is there for true emergencies, but they're not wearing it during class to scroll Instagram under their shirt.
Ooh, a middle ground approach. Phones at school, but not in class. Compromise, I like it. We might resolve this yet without a lightsaber duel.
Here's the thing with that plan. You think teens will actually keep them in lockers? One does not simply separate a teenager from their phone that easily. Yes, I just dropped a Boromir Lord of the Rings meme, folks. They will find a way. If you ban phones outright, get ready for the black market of secret phone smuggling. We're talking phones in hoodie sleeves, taped under desks, hidden behind textbook covers. Very sus, as Among Us would say. I've seen a girl use a fake calculator case to hide her smartphone. She was playing Plants vs. Zombies on what looked like a TI 84 Plus. These kids are clever. Enforcement would become a full-time job. Teachers should be teaching, not acting as phone police, sniffing out contraband devices like it's an episode of CSI Classroom. What are we gonna do, pat down searches at the door? Hire the NSA to monitor every Snapchat? Banning might actually distract teachers more than a few buzzing phones would.
Fair point. These sneaky kids could teach Houdini a thing or two, but hey, at least you're admitting they'd have to hide it. That means they know it's not allowed, which is halfway to not using it, right? Audience laughs. Look, I won't pretend enforcement is easy, but plenty of schools do have no phone policies that work. It starts with clear rules and cooperation from parents. If Johnny is caught playing Fortnite in calculus, sorry, phone gets taken. After a few confiscations, trust me, they get the message, or they end up phoneless until graduation, which honestly might do them some good. Shrugs comically.
All right, before this turns into a negotiation of Phone Treaty 2025, let's get some closing statements.
In the end, it's simple. School is for schooling. There's a time and place for everything, and math class is not the place for Snapchat streaks or Clash of Clans battles under the desk. Banning phones during school hours cuts out the distractions, the drama, the digital mayhem. Let kids be present in the moment. Learn, make eye contact, maybe even admire the inspirational cat poster on the wall for once. They can survive 6 hours without checking TikTok. I promise their dance videos will still be there at 3:30. By banning phones, we'd be doing them a favor, giving their brains a breather from the constant buzz and beep of the online world. Phones down, heads up, period, drops an imaginary mic.
He actually did a mic drop. Good thing it wasn't a phone drop. Those screens shatter real easy. All right, Tina, your turn. Why should phones stick around?
I say let phones into school, but with wisdom and guidance. A smartphone is a tool, just like a pencil. Except it can access the entirety of human knowledge and also fling angry birds at pig fortresses. It's powerful, yes, but that power is an opportunity. Banning phones is like banning the library because a few kids might read comics instead of classic literature. Instead of prohibition, let's teach responsible use. Show students how to focus with a phone around, how to use that tiny supercomputer for good, to research, to create, to collaborate, and okay, maybe to text mom that they forgot their lunch. Demonstrate that we trust them to handle the responsibility. Because guess what? In a few years, they'll be adults in a world full of smartphones. They need practice managing that distraction now, not zero experience, and then freedom overload. And when they slip up, and they will, we coach them. We don't just yank away the device. Plus, let's be real. A funny cat video or a quick meme break in the middle of a long day can do wonders for stress. School can afford to be a little fun. So, I'm proudly Team Phone. Keep the phones, teach the habits. Prepare kids for the real world rather than a bubble. In short, let them use their phones wisely. And if they don't know how, there's an app for that. It's called Life Experience. Wink.
Fantastic, what a debate. We've heard phone puns, zombie apocalypses, Socrates on TikTok, truly the full spectrum. So, dear audience, where do you stand? Are you team phones down, heads up with Oliver, or team there's an app for that with Tina? Let us know in the comments. I'm getting a notification, ironically on my phone, that it's time to wrap up. If you enjoyed this lively debate, smash that like button and subscribe for more fun discussions. Until next time, stay curious, stay civil, and whether you're holding a book or a phone, keep your brain engaged. Moderator out.